Hello guys, today I'm doing a video on Gotham Knights with the Steam Deck. We're going to start it off with 800p on the lowest settings. Alright, let's jump into it. Alright, here we are in the settings menu, playing the game at 800p. And I'm going to disable FSR. Apply. There we go. And then here we are with the low preset. Go ahead and disable anti-aliasing as well. Might as well. And everything else is set to its lowest value. So originally I did a video on this game on Windows, since it wasn't compatible on SteamOS. But shortly after, it became playable. It's not verified yet, but it is playable. So I thought I'd go back to it and do a proper video on it. So far, we are sitting in the mid-30s up to the low 40s. This area is quite light, obviously. We are above the map. Normally, when you land on the street level, or when you ride your bike, that's when you'll see the most impact to your performance. On ground, we are getting some massive dips right there. But sitting at 30 to 40 FPS anyway. It is quite good. The game is stuttering quite heavily once we have those dips down into the mid-20s. But who is he honking at? I'll save your life later, don't worry about that. But yeah, the game is stuttering a little bit, but it's not too bad, honestly. I think a 30 FPS cap will definitely be helping us out here. Now, the quality of the game isn't really the best. It's decent on the Steam Deck screen. Can't really complain about it. But on the bigger screen, it definitely does look pixelated. And we get some lighting issues as well. As you can see on that building, pretty much have no detail at all up here. Looks very poor. But other than that, looks pretty decent. I think with anti-aliasing we can definitely fix this issue, or at least help it out a little bit. But right now, without it, it looks pretty bad. Alright, let's go ahead and call in the bike. Where's it at? What? Where's my bike? Oh, it's right in front. I didn't see it. This guy's hiding it. Alright, let's get on it. Now, this will be very CPU intensive. So as you can see, we are getting those stutters again like we had before at launch. FPS is sitting between the mid-20s up to the low 30s. So this game is still basically very CPU bottlenecked. It's very intensive still. You will have those dips into the mid-20s. I will try to optimize it as best as I can. But no guarantees that we'll get a 30 FPS stable from this game. But we're most likely going to be playing the game at the low to medium settings. Ooh, that was a pretty bad popping right there. The level was just loading in as I was driving by. Alright, I think this is a good time to pause the game. And go ahead and use FSR. Upscaling type. Use FSR. And then I'm going to use the balance preset, because normally on the Steam Deck, the balance mode and quality mode are very similar. So not much point in losing the FPS for basically no quality gain. But yeah, here we are with the balanced FSR mode. We're leaving the city, so it will be less CPU bottlenecked. As you can see, CPU clocks are dropping down a little bit. And FPS is rising up into the mid-30s. But let's go ahead and turn around. And we'll see what we can get here. The game does look quite blurry on the bigger screen if you're watching this on a PC. But on the Steam Deck, it still does look quite sharp. We'll give you that TAA look with anti-aliasing enabled. It definitely looks far sharper without it, but it's not too bad still, I gotta say. Game is stuttering quite heavily, sitting in the low 20s. Now we're getting some massive pop in. The cars are just loading in as I'm driving by. In my opinion, this game should not be rated as playable. I think this should be an unsupported game. I guess it does run and it does play, but the experience is not really that good at all. Game is stuttering quite heavily. FPS is down to the low 20s. It's not too bad, I guess, if you're on foot or if you're doing missions on foot. But on the bike, it is quite unplayable even with FSR. And here we are with the medium settings. Oops. Alright, I'm gonna go ahead and restart the game and come back when that's done. Alright, the medium settings, let's get going. Ooh, the game's already falling down to the mid-20s. Yeah, this game isn't really designed to run well on the Steam Deck. It's very intensive on the CPU, which is the weakest part about the Steam Deck, is the CPU. So, gonna absolutely struggle in this heavily congested city areas. But on foot, still not too bad, sitting at 30-ish FPS with some dips into the high 20s. Game looks fantastic, I gotta say. On medium settings, it looks very good. Way better than low settings. It's mainly the anti-aliasing, I would say. Doesn't look as sharp, and the jagged edges are pretty much gone. Alright, let's call the bike in. And let's get going. I like the reflections, looks very nice. I like the graphics, but the performance, man, is not good at all. Already sitting in the low 20s. Just shows you how much more intensive the game becomes at medium settings. This is mainly a GPU bottleneck, I would say, at this point, since we can't really feed the GPU to power the medium graphics or the medium settings. And at the same time, the CPU is very hungry as well. It's a very CPU intensive game, so everything will just fall apart and we're sitting in the low 20s now. The game is super stuttery. So yeah, I think with that FSR, you're going to be forced to stay in the low settings. And even with FSR, you're going to be still dropping down into the mid 20s, so it's not really a great experience regardless. Again, on foot, it's not that bad, but on the bike, which is what you need for travel around the map, the game is very laggy. The cars are still popping in, as you would expect. FPS is not doing that good at all. We could go ahead and leave the city, and we'll see an FPS bump into the low 30s, but in the city area, FPS is pretty atrocious. We're going to be using FSR Performance mode. Hopefully it runs well. Let's see what we can get. Now on the Steam Deck, the game does look a little bit blurry. It's not too major, to be honest. It still does look really nice. On the biggest screen, it looks atrocious, as you can see. It looks very washed out and very blurry. It looks like a painting pretty much at this point. Like an oil painting. FPS is doing a little bit better. Sitting in the mid to high 20s with some into the low 20s. Game is stuttering all over the place though. And pushing it up to the high settings. Here we are. There we go. Alright, sitting at 30 FPS on this rooftop. Up to the mid 30s. Not really impressive, to be honest. That's what we had before. It's gonna drop down. Oh, that is very stuttery. Alright, on foot, what are we getting? 30 FPS still? Not too bad, to be honest. The game's not stuttering at all either. I believe on Windows the game crashed, I think, at the high preset. And it wiped my save as well with it. Game's looking really nice. That car was stuttering as it was driving by, and that was interesting to see. So I think regardless of the game being playable or not, most people should go with the low to medium settings, but mainly leaning towards the low preset to have the most stable experience. This game is very CPU intensive, and they still haven't fixed it yet, unfortunately. Hopefully they can fix it, but at this point it's been a couple months and they haven't done anything to it yet. So this might be how the game runs from here on out. Whoa, the car just totally spawned in front of me. What was that? This is running like Cyberpunk at this point. Alright, and finally with FSR set to Ultra Performance. Oh my god, the game looks so blurry. Oh my god, the game looks so blurry. Look how bad it looks on the bigger screen. But you know what, on the Steam Deck screen it's not that bad still. You can still definitely see the cars and some detail in the image, but you can also definitely tell that the quality is very, very bad. Alright, yeah, there's not really much point in us playing at the high settings anymore. I'm gonna go ahead and quit out, optimize the settings, and then come back when that's done. Alright, I'm back with the optimized settings. We're gonna be using FSR 2.0 with the balanced preset, sharpening level 2. I feel that it's gonna be set to its lowest value, and for everything else, it's gonna be a mix of medium to low settings. Alright, looks good. Let's jump into it. So unfortunately for Gotham Knights, this game is far too intensive on the CPU, and you can't really get a stable 30 going with the Steam Deck. Now if you don't really mind the FPS drops to the mid 20s, then I guess this is still playable for you. But I think for most people, this isn't really playable. Alright, if you're still interested in playing this game portably, and you're wondering about your battery life, you're going to be sitting between 1 hour and 30 minutes up to 2 hours and 30 minutes. That car is spawned inside of the van. What is he doing? What is going on? This is just like Cyberpunk. Alright, and here we are with docked mode, playing the game at 1080p with the optimized settings. There we are. Alright, so here we are on ground floor. Surprisingly getting 30 FPS still. Wow. That is pretty surprising. At 1080p, no upscaling as well. Very close to 30 FPS. Now let's call in the bike. This will make the game GPU and CPU intensive at the same time, which should see our FPS drop down into the low 20s very easily. There we are, low 20s. It's honestly not that bad still though, I gotta say. It's not that bad. I was really expecting far worse from this, but sitting in the mid 20s consistently, it's doing really good. Now with FSR set to performance mode, Can we get 30 FPS at 1080p? No. But the game also looks decently well still. We're getting some haloing around Robin. Game is stuttering quite badly as well. Let's get driving though. So yeah, we gained a lot of headroom on the CPU side of things, but FPS didn't really improve that much. Still sitting in the low 20s. And yeah, game is stuttering very heavily as well. This game still needs a lot of work and a lot of updates to get playable on the Steam Deck. I am frozen on the spot. That is so bad. That is so bad. The game's trying to load everything in. Okay, well, this game is still very disappointing on the Steam Deck. Doesn't really run that well. And in my opinion, it shouldn't really be playable, but it is what it is. If you still do want to play this game, play at a mix of low to medium settings with FSR set to balanced, and should have a mostly decent experience. You will still have some dips into the mid-20s unfortunately, but at least the 30 FPS mode is somewhat doable. Alright, I think that's about it guys. Thank you guys for watching, hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys tomorrow for the next one. See you there.